A rubber washer cost 10 cents. A roll of plumber's tape cost $1.50. A wax ring for a toilet costs $3, combined with a single adjustable wrench. These items repair the four most common plumbing failures in any American home: a dripping faucet, a running toilet, a leaking pipe joint, a clogged drain, 4 problems, $3 in parts, 15 minutes per repair before 1960. Every homeowner in the United States handled these jobs without hesitation. There was no phone call. There was no emergency service charge. There was no 4-hour window of waiting for a stranger in a uniform. There was a small wooden toolbox under the kitchen sink, a roll of tape, a handful of washers, and a working knowledge of how water moves through copper and brass. The repairs have not changed. Faucets still drip because a washer wears out. Toilets still run because a flapper hardens. Pipe joints still leak because tape degrades. Drains still clog because hair, grease, and soap collect in a curve. The physics is identical. The parts are identical. Most of the fittings in your home were standardized in 1928 and have not been redesigned since. What changed was you. Your right to handle the problem. Your knowledge of how. The certainty, passed down for over a century, that a leak in your own house was your business and nobody else's. The American plumbing services industry generates $130 billion a year. Roto-Rooter alone, a single franchise chain, collects over $500 million annually from residential service calls. There are more than 125,000 licensed plumbing businesses operating in the United States. Most of them charge a service fee just to drive to your house. The average plumber service call costs between $350 and $600 before any repair work begins. That is the trip charge, the diagnostic fee, and the first hour of labor. The repair itself, replacing a worn washer, swapping a wax ring, tightening a fitting, is then billed at $150 to $300 per hour on top of that. A single dripping faucet, a job that takes 9 minutes and uses a 10-cent part, will appear on your invoice as $450. A running toilet, a job that takes 12 minutes and uses an $8 flapper, will appear as $500. A leaking pipe joint, a job that takes 6 minutes and uses a roll of tape, will appear as $375. The average American homeowner pays between $600 and $1,200 a year for plumbing repairs across these 4 basic problems. Over the 30-year span of a typical mortgage, that is $20,000 to $36,000, spent on repairs that take an average of 11 minutes each, using parts that cost less than $5 combined. The $30 toolkit has no service fee, no diagnostic charge, no hourly rate, no after-hours premium, no weekend surcharge, no emergency multiplier, no invoice, no appointment window. It has a wrench, it has tape, it has washers. It has a plunger. It fixes 90% of what goes wrong with the water in a house. It always has. The reason you call someone else is not because the repair is hard. It is because a $130 billion industry cannot exist if you handle your own faucet. The entire business model depends on one thing: that you believe the work is too difficult, too dangerous, or too regulated for your own hands. In 1933, at the deepest point of the Great Depression, the average American household earned less than $900 a year. There was no money to pay a plumber. There were also very few plumbers to pay. Residential plumbing repair was, in nearly every American town, a household responsibility. The man of the house, or in many cases the woman, kept a small toolbox and replaced washers, tightened joints, and cleared drains as part of normal home maintenance. Children watched. They learned. The knowledge moved through families the way recipes move through families. Quietly, without ceremony, across generations. This was not poverty. This was independence. Then came the post-war housing boom. Between 1946 and 1960, more than 15 million new homes were built in the United States. Suburbs expanded across every major metropolitan area. New construction meant new code, and new code meant a new question. Who is allowed to work on the pipes inside a private residence? In 1955, the National Plumbing Code was published. By 1960, most states had adopted licensing requirements for residential plumbing work. The original justification was public safety, preventing cross-connections between drinking water and sewage. That was a real concern, and the safety standards behind it saved lives. But the codes did not stop at backflow prevention. They expanded year after year into territory that had nothing to do with public health by 1972 in many municipalities, Replacing a washer in your own faucet technically required a permit. Replacing a toilet wax ring required a licensed installer. Tightening a fitting under your own kitchen sink could be flagged in a home inspection if it had not been done by a credentialed professional. The trade groups that lobbied for these expansions were not anonymous. The Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors Association, founded in 1883, spent decades testifying at code hearings, funding lobbying campaigns, and shaping municipal regulations through ordinances. The result was not safer plumbing. American plumbing failure rates between 1950 and 2000 did not decline. They increased slightly, tracking with the age of housing stock. What declined was the number of homeowners who believed they had the right to fix their own pipes. By 1980, surveys conducted by home improvement publications showed that less than 30% of American homeowners had attempted any plumbing repair in the previous 5 years. 50 years earlier, that number had been over 90%. Not banned outright, just made expensive enough, regulated enough, and intimidating enough that an entire generation believed the work was beyond them. Just removed from any school curriculum written after 1965. Just replaced in every popular home magazine with the phrase, "Call a professional." The University of Illinois School of Architecture published a study in 1978 reviewing residential plumbing failures across 3,000 homes. The conclusion was simple. The vast majority of the failures observed could have been corrected by the homeowner using basic hand tools and parts available at any hardware store. The study was archived. It was never referenced in a single trade publication, then or since. The system has 4 components. Every one of them is available at any hardware store in America for a combined total of less than $30. Here is exactly what each one does, how it works, and which problem it solves. Component 1. The rubber washer. A pack of 20 assorted faucet washers costs $1.50 at any hardware store. That pack will outlast every faucet in a home. A faucet drip is almost always caused by a single failure. The small rubber disc at the bottom of the valve stem, the washer, has compressed, hardened, or cracked from years of pressure cycling. When it can no longer form a tight seal against the brass seat below it, water seeps through and drips from the spout. That is it. That is the entire mechanism. The chemistry is simple. Rubber under constant pressure and temperature change loses elasticity over time. When elasticity drops below a critical point, the seal fails. The fix is to replace the rubber. To repair a dripping compression faucet, shut off the water supply at the angle stop under the sink. Open the faucet to release pressure. Remove the decorative cap on top of the handle, usually a small disc that pops off with a flat screwdriver. Remove the screw underneath. Lift off the handle. Use an adjustable wrench to unscrew the packing nut. Pull out the valve stem. The washer is held to the bottom by a single brass screw. Remove it, replace it with a matching washer from the pack. Reverse the steps. Total time, 9 minutes. Total parts cost, 10 cents. Remember, a plumber's service call for this exact repair costs between $400 and $500. The work is the same. The part is the same. The difference is the wrench in your hand. Component 2. Plumber's thread seal tape. A roll of polytetrafluoroethylene tape, more commonly called Teflon tape or pipe tape, costs $1.50. A single roll wraps over 50 pipe joints. Threaded pipe connections leak when the threads are not perfectly mated, which is almost always. Microscopic gaps along the spiral allow water to weep through under pressure. Pipe tape fills those gaps. The tape itself is chemically inert, will not corrode, and forms a watertight seal that lasts for decades. To use it, wrap the male threads 3 to 5 times in the same direction the fitting will tighten. Clockwise, when viewed from the open end. The tape stretches into the threads as the fitting is tightened, sealing every microscopic gap. Pipe tape repairs leaks at the base of toilets where the supply line meets the tank, at the angle stops where supply lines meet the pipe, at showerhead connections, at hose bibs, and at every threaded fitting in a home. A roll lives in a kitchen drawer for a decade. The cost of a plumber's visit to wrap a single threaded fitting in tape is between $300 and $375. The cost of doing it yourself is 2 cents of tape and 4 minutes of time. Component 3. The wax ring. Asterisk. A wax ring for a standard residential toilet costs between $3 and $5. It seals the connection between the toilet base and the drain flange in the floor. When a toilet leaks at its base, when water seeps onto the floor every time it is flushed, the cause is almost always a failed wax ring. Wax rings dry out, compress unevenly, or shift when the toilet is rocked. Once the seal breaks, water and waste travel sideways instead of down. To replace one, shut off the supply line. Flush the toilet to drain the tank. Disconnect the supply line with a wrench. Unscrew the two nuts at the floor flange that hold the toilet down. Lift the toilet straight up and set it on its side on a towel. Scrape the old wax ring off the bottom of the toilet and the floor flange. Press a new wax ring onto the bottom outlet of the toilet. Lower the toilet straight down onto the flange, aligning the bolts. Press firmly to compress the wax. Tighten the floor nuts. Reconnect the supply line. Total time, 25 minutes. Total cost, $3. A plumber's invoice for this exact job runs between $500 and $750. The wax ring on the truck is the same one sold at the hardware store. Component 4. The plunger and the drain snake. A heavy rubber plunger with a flange costs $8. A 6-foot hand-crank drain snake costs $12. Together, they clear 95% of every clog that forms in a residential drain. The science of a clog is straightforward. Hair, grease, food residue, and soap scum collect at the first bend in a drain pipe, the P-trap. Water cannot flow past the obstruction. The fix is mechanical. Either push the clog through with the pressure wave generated by a plunger, or pull it out with the rotating tip of a snake to plunge a sink or tub drain. Fill the basin with 2 inches of water, plug any overflow outlet with a wet rag, seat the plunger flange firmly over the drain, and pump vertically 12 to 15 times in rapid succession. The pressure pulse breaks up most soft clogs. For harder clogs, feed the drain snake into the drain by hand, turning the crank as it advances. When the tip catches resistance, rotate the handle to bite into the obstruction, then pull it back out. Hair clogs in bathroom drains come out in a single pull. Grease clogs in kitchen drains break apart and flush through. Add 1 cup of baking soda followed by 1 cup of white vinegar once a month, flushed with boiling water, and the average household will never need a chemical drain cleaner again. The standing cost of a bottle of Drano is $6. The annual cost of monthly baking soda and vinegar maintenance is less than $2. 4 components. $26.10. 90% of every plumbing problem in an American home. Eliminated. The fittings have not changed. The physics has not changed. The parts under your sink today are the same parts your great-grandfather replaced in 1934. The only thing that changed was who was told they were allowed to touch them. Walk into any farmhouse in rural Iowa in 1935, any row house in South Philadelphia, any clapboard cottage on the Maine coast. You would have found the same wooden toolbox in the same place, beside the back door, or under the kitchen sink, or on a shelf in the cellar. Inside, the contents were nearly identical from house to house. An adjustable wrench, a small hammer, a roll of pipe tape, or its earlier cousin, a strip of greased linen, a handful of brass washers in a glass jar, a wooden-handled plunger, a coil of stiff wire for clearing drains. This was not specialized equipment. It was a household standard, the same way every kitchen had a rolling pin and every workshop had a saw. When a faucet dripped, the husband or the wife shut off the water and replaced the washer. When a toilet ran, somebody lifted the tank lid and adjusted the float. When a drain clogged, the plunger came out from under the sink and the problem was over in 3 minutes. None of this required a credential. None of it required a phone call. None of it cost more than the price of a part. Across rural America, in towns of fewer than 5,000 people, professional plumbers barely existed. They were not needed. The work was distributed across every household. The knowledge moved through families and church communities and neighbor-to-neighbor conversations on front porches. The Roman aqueduct system, built 2,000 years ago, was maintained by ordinary citizens for nearly 1,000 years. Medieval English farmhouses had hand pumps repaired by the people who used them. Edo period Japan had wooden water pipes and ceramic fittings serviced by every household along the line. The skill is older than electricity. It was always meant to be ordinary. For $30, a wrench, a roll of tape, a pack of washers, a wax ring, a plunger, and a hand snake, you can handle 9 out of every 10 plumbing failures that will ever occur in your home. Starting today, no license, no appointment. No $400 service call. The complete system, including the full toolkit list, the step-by-step repair procedures for every common fixture, and the exact part numbers for older homes, is linked in the description below. It covers plumbing, home maintenance, food preservation, and household formulas. Everything your great-grandparents knew in one place. Tomorrow, this channel will show you the exact $1 fabric waterproofing your great-grandfather used on his canvas work coat, and why the outdoor industry charges $300 for the same chemistry. Every product in your home once had a $0 version. They buried it. Now you know.